Yes, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We are back again, Thursday, our Consciencism class, where we study and reflect and share our thinking on the philosophy and ideology of Consciencism. So welcome once again. The reading is on the screen, and our brother Coco will read for us. So let me welcome everyone who is here now. Welcome, Brother Coco. Welcome, Sister Portia. Welcome, Brother Winhock. Welcome, and then welcome, Brother Pigeon. Yes, Brother Coco, please proceed with the reading. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother, and welcome to you all, brothers and sisters. The nature and cause of the conflict between the ruling class and the exploited class is influenced by the development of productive forces. That is, changes in technology, the economic relations which this is condition, and the ideologies that reflect the properties and psychology of the people living in that society. The basis of a socialist revolution is created when the class struggle within a given society has resulted in mass consent and mass desire for positive action to change or transform that society. It is then that the foundation is laid for the highest form of political action. When a revolution attains its excellence and workers and peasants succeed in all other classes. Should I sentence again? It is then that the foundation is laid for the highest form of political action. When a revolution attains its excellence and workers and peasants succeed in overthrowing all other classes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we've had our brother Coco read for us. We shall now go round and hear our thinking on what has been read. May I remind you all that the chapter is Society and the Ideology, and we have come face to face with, if you like, the apogee of what it means for society when the mass consent and mass desire for positive action is guided by ideology. So we're going to go around and hear your thinking, and that's what we normally do. Sister Ama, your message has been read. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you very much. So so let's start with Sister Portia. Sister Portia, can you share your thinking, please? Are you in a position to, Sister Portia? And you've unmuted yourself, but we can't hear you. We can't.
Can you hear me now, Pro?
We can now hear you. Thank you.
Pro, there is something wrong with my headphones, and I need to put on another pair. Can you permit me to move and then come back to me? Thank you.
Yes, we can. So let's hear from Brother.
Can I suggest that we the previous paragraph while she's doing that?
Say that again.
Can we read the paragraph from last week while she's doing that?
You want us to read paragraph from last week? Let's see. The paragraph from last week is this one here. Can you see it?
I can see
I'll
that.
highlight it again.
Yes.
Yeah. So this one here, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So we continue from there and then
that's fine.
with
so
the others.
Yeah, please read that for us, Brother Coco, whilst Portia sorts herself out. Yeah, Sister Tapua, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, please proceed, Brother Coco.
Okay, King. But because spirit of communalism still exists to some extent in societies with a communalist past, socialism and communism are not in the strict sense of the word revolutionary creeds. They may be described as restatements in contemporary idiom of the principles underlying communalism. On the other hand, in societies with no history of communalism, the creeds of socialism and communism are fully revolutionary. And the passage to socialism must be guided by the principles of scientific socialism.
Okay, thank you for reading the previous paragraph. So we can link this paragraph that Brother Coco has read with the one he read earlier, and feel free to reference the previous paragraph that he's just read with the current paragraph, which is the second paragraph that we are going through today. Let me continue to thank you all for continuing to come to the class. What we are doing here, what you are doing by attending this class, is a level of discipline which is necessary for change. For change to happen, there has to be a group of human beings like you who are focused, who are disciplined, and in terms of political education, are engaged and meet, discuss, share, and think together. And that's what we've been doing for years now across the ocean. So what you are doing is not a mean task. It's not to be belittled at all. What you are doing is really massive. It is the mark of a disciplined group. So I'd like to thank you for continuing to show such high levels of discipline. Even though we all don't come here on the right time because of life, at least we are here to be part of the class. And that in itself, the attendance in itself is to be admired. and to be praised and to be complimented.
Kwame, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. What we are doing is the bedrock of revolutionary change. Yes, we can hear you, Sister Portia. Please feel free to proceed when you're ready. But before you start, are there any words that anyone wants us to go through? Are there any words, or are we all now familiar with those words? Yeah. The word scientific socialism was a word we came across for the first time in the book, the last reading. And we did say we will focus on that at some point. But yes, so it has, Brother Coco has read it again for us in the last sentence of the first paragraph, scientific socialism. Anyway, so are we all familiar with words? Is there any word you would like us to go through, or should we just proceed with people sharing their thinking?
Positive action.
Yes, brother, welcome.
Positive action.
Positive action, yeah. So positive action. Any other one apart from positive action we want to go through? Positive action. Any other one? Are we all familiar with? So positive action is the one that has come up in this paragraph. Are we all familiar? Apart from that, any other words? What about the words from the previous paragraph? Are we all familiar with those? Are we happy with those? Socialism, communism.
Scientific
socialism. Yeah, so that came up in the last paragraph. Right. Okay. Right. So okay. Any other before we go through them? Are we all happy with the other words? Yes, Sister Poa, any other words? Are you happy with all the words? Kansi? Sister Ida? Okay. If you can't talk, you please do put your message in the chat.
And Brother Kwame, when a revolution attains its excellence. Excellence in that context.
In that context, yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. So yes, Brother Pigeon, you are right. This is the first time the word positive action has been used, as also in scientific socialism. Sister Poa, your message is received. You can't talk. Sister Ida is traveling, so she also can't talk. Sister Amma also can't talk because I think she said earlier that she's traveling. So all our sisters can't talk except Sister Portia. Right. Okay. So yeah. Brother Pigeon, I believe you can talk. Is that correct? Yeah. Brother Pigeon, remind us, what is scientific socialism? We came across it the last time. I don't know if Brother Pigeon can talk. Where he is? Oh, looks like he can't. Okay. Right. So positive action. So that is so Nkrumah wrote a whole paper on what the title was, What I Mean by Positive Action. So if you look at Nkrumah's works, or his a compilation of his writings and his speeches, one of them is What I Mean by Positive Action. So what is positive action? So positive action, according to Nkrumah, is essentially non-violent struggle. That's what essentially means. What did he mean by non-violent struggle? Well, it means he took this from Gandhi. Yes, brother?
I thought he took it from Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King Jr. Did he? Yeah, but yeah.
Gandhi.
So they're all contemporaries in that sense. So you are talking about the civil rights movement there, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Tell us what you know about that, and then we'll build on that. Thank you.
No, I can really not tell. I know there were some excerpts from Dr. King's speeches that whatever action we take, it should be non-violent. We must just exert pressure in our numbers, but we shouldn't graduate to the level of starting to be involved in violence like distractions, killing, loss of lives, and those things. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I haven't read about it.
Yes, okay. Martin Luther King
Kwame,
is in the 60s.
may I
Yes.
correct for historical purposes?
Yes,
for
do that.
Accuracy. Dr. Martin Luther King has been whitewashed, or he has been reduced to the idea that he was nonviolent and was not radical. Yet if you go throughout his works and really look into it, one of the alleged reasons he was assassinated was because he was growing more and more radical. Similar to what was discussed, I believe it was a couple of weeks ago, in terms of the miseducation of the Negro, where at the time the author had very much before that grew up and was thinking you could incorporate oneself into capitalism so long as you had the good grades and were successful and had the house and the car. And then later, of course, metamorphed into a radical like Dr. Martin Luther King. So I just caution us to please not take at face value Dr. King's usually quoted nonviolence. He was very much a radical when you look and investigate thoroughly his works. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, that's why we are looking at it. That's why we're looking at it. So, and I think the question has arisen with respect to the question of positive action. So thank you for your contribution on that, Sister Portia. So if we go back in history, then again, just focusing on positive action as non-violent action, as non-violent struggle. If we go back in history to 1945, so there is a Pan-African conference, and out of that conference, the decision is made that freedom fighters should go back to, when they go back to their colonial territories, to engage in struggle to liberate their colonial territories. Now, if you scroll back slightly, you remember Nkrumah left the shores of then Gold Coast, went through UK, went to America, returned to America to meet George Padmore, and together they organized the 1945 Pan-African Conference. Now, This was in 1945. Now, remember at this point, the Pan-Africanists are also working with other groups like the Asians, the Indians, if you like, who are also, remember, India at this point also is under colonial rule. So in London, in the UK, if you like, the Pan-Africanists are not only working by themselves, they're also working with other groups that also want their territories liberated. Now, I believe India got independence in 1947, which means that 2 years after the Pan-African Conference in 1945, India had attained independence. Now you can imagine how this was inspirational for the contemporary fighters for independence. Of course, if you go back into history, Haiti, remember, was the first African territory to light that touch of liberation, So when India got independence, it also, you can imagine, that would also have inspired the Pan-Africanists. Now, this was in 1947. Now, if you look at the Indian struggle for independence, that was led by Mahatma Gandhi. Yes, we know now he was a racist when he was in South Africa. He never worked to liberate Africans in South Africa. He was only interested in liberating Asians and Indians in South Africa, etc., etc., etc. We know all that. Now we know all that, yeah? But at the time, when Gandhi was fighting for the independence, the tool that he used is called Satyagraha. That's the name as I remember it. And that essentially was non-violent struggle, which means basically that you overthrow the colonial state. And to do so, you don't need to use guns and tanks and bullets. You can do that through non-violence. And by non-violence was meant things like strikes, boycotts, and non-cooperation. So you don't cooperate with the colonial government. You go on strikes. You have boycotts, etc., etc. And this kind of action will result in liberating the territory, the colonial territory. And Gandhi used essentially that technique. So that inspired Nkrumah. So the argument goes. So when Nkrumah wrote his book, not the book, but it was a paper he wrote, and he went to the palace of the Grand Chief at the time, and he explained what he meant by positive action. And that's exactly what he meant: strikes, boycotts, and non-cooperation. Since then, if you fast forward, in the US, they are also now fighting for civil rights, as it's come to be called. But it was a fight for equality, basically. Yeah. And so Nkrumah then uses positive action, which means strikes, non-cooperation, boycotts, to also win independence for what was then called the Gold Coast, but became Ghana if you add the Ashanti Protectorate, Northern Territories, and the Transvolta Togoland. So this was in 1957. So Nkrumah also used the same technique of non-violence between 1947 for 10 years and won independence in Ghana in 1957. So this inspires the Americans. So Martin Luther King flies to Accra in 1957, the same year. And this is when Ghana became independent, meets Nkrumah. And so they are also then inspired, and the civil rights movement of the 60s then also, if you like, preached nonviolence to attain civil rights. As Sister Portia has explained, the story didn't end there. Even for Nkrumah. Nkrumah later on, we'll come to this later. I've been told not to make explanations too long by Sister Portia. So let me just make it short. So the story changed for both Martin Luther King and for Nkrumah. Sister Portia has drawn our attention to the fact that even Martin Luther King at some point moved from the position of nonviolence in the sense in which she has explained it. For Nkrumah, he came to the view later on that nonviolence is not going to liberate the continent. And that for the continent of Africa to be liberated, Africa will have to engage in armed struggle. And this was his position before he died. So that is a history as far as I know. If anybody wants to add to that history, please feel free to do so. So both Martin Luther King and Nkrumah, from positive action on violence, they came to the view that armed action. This is where people like Che Guevara, the Cubans became important for us. They came to Africa. They were engaged in the struggle. They helped to defeat apartheid, the South African army, etc., etc. Remember, even in Angola, apart from Angola, Zimbabwe, also there was armed struggle against the then government, and then in North Africa, the Algerians also. The Portuguese were not prepared to give up power. Anyway, so the question was, what is positive action? It means non-violent action. That's essentially what it means. Yes, Brother Coco.
I wanted to, yes.
Yeah, you want to add to the history? Yeah, please do so.
When they went to,
Sister Portia can come in with thinking. Please go on.
Yeah, when the Africans went to, do you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, sorry. When the Africans went to the All African Peoples in Accra, 1988, majority of them went with that view of non-violent struggle. And it's Fanon who stood up there and made a speech. They realized they could not win only by non-violent means. Because he said, what do we do? What do we do? Kill us. Because that's what they are doing in Algeria. And from that, we came out of the a revolutionary path, which was different from just non-violent action, Brother Sanduk.
Yes. I mean, you are right. That's why I was saying that from positive action, it metamorphosed into we wouldn't say violent action. We will say armed struggle. Yeah, because it's not about being violent; it's about armed struggle. Brother Pigeon, you also want to say something?
Brother Kwame, can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly now. Yes.
Now, if positive action is non-violent, negative action is violent in context of consciousness. That's the question.
Negative action can be violent, yes. So when they shoot us, when they shoot young people because they are on strike, that is violent. That is negative action being violent. Negative action is not always violent. They can call a conference, and in that conference they talk to you and convince you that convince you about something. The conferences, so if you read Neo-Colonialism, the last stage of imperialism, it's clear that the mechanisms of neo-colonialism are many. You know, even sending teachers to Africa to teach. So you can have members of, say, the CIA or intelligence services or spies. They come and they're like teachers, ordinary teachers who are there, NGOs, you know, all these organizations. That is not violence. That is just being part of the normal everyday systems, but they are reporting, they are spying, they are giving intelligence, etc., etc. So the answer is no, it can be violent, but not always violent. Thank you.
No, Brother Kwame, the efforts by liberation movements who took arms to fight for independence, that was now negative action in the context of what you define positive action. So it was negative action for our armed struggles.
Yeah, hold on. Negative action is not the action, is not what is done by those who want to be liberated, united, and develop. Yeah, that is positive action. Whatever they do in order to liberate, unite, and develop, that is what we call positive action. Then negative action is any action that is taken by whoever to keep people unliberated, undeveloped, and ununited, to keep them in poverty, etc. That is what those mean. The positive action that we are talking about here. So there are two meanings. So there is a broad meaning of positive action as the action taken by the forces that want liberation, unification, and development. Within that, there is positive action, which is where you are not engaged in violent acts. So it's the same word, Brother Pigeon, but at different levels. Does that make sense?
Okay, let me be satisfied.
So the same word, positive action. Yeah, but positive action here means not engaged, essentially non-violent struggle. That's what it means here. Then by the time we get to chapter 5, positive action broadly then means any action that you take in order to liberate, unite, and develop. And that can include armed struggle. Yes. So I suppose in this paragraph, if we take the meaning in chapter 5, then we can elevate it and say that at the time when Nkrumah wrote his book, his pamphlet or article on positive action, he himself was not engaged in armed struggle because liberation of Ghana didn't need armed struggle. But it didn't mean that all the territories in Africa did not require armed struggle. Some of them did. Yeah, Brother Pigeon, you want to come back? And then I'll go to Brother Coco. Thank you.
No, I'm okay, Brother Kwame. I hope that we maintain, because I had noted in the chat that this is the first time the word positive action is also coming along. And therefore, if the meaning has to be very static from the beginning, then I think maybe Nkrumah means that we will be consistent with the meaning even when it come across chapter 5, because now chapter 5 probably is purely negative positive action. So I think I thought it was very important we look at it here, because we are going to focus on it more in chapter 5.
Yes, okay. Now, yeah, thank you for drawing my attention to consistency of meaning. It is a fact that in Ghana, fighting for the independence of Ghana required positive action, and that's what Nkrumah called it. And that positive action did not include violence in the sense or armed struggle. As Brother Coco mentioned earlier, in 1958, some of those who came to Accra at that point, the CPP had training camps where freedom fighters came to Ghana to be trained in the use of arms. So yes, so you are right that we should keep that in mind. Thank you. Any other contributions on the meaning of words? And then we move to Sister Portia to share her thinking.
Brother Kwame.
Yes, sir.
Are we saying that armed struggle
is part of positive action?
It's also positive action.
It's part of positive action.
Yeah. So whatever action you take,
by any means necessary.
Yeah, aimed at liberating yourself.
Yes,
is positive action.
Positive action, and the reason it's positive action is because you want to liberate, unite, and develop. That's why it's positive action. And anything, and when the imperialist forces also do anything to keep us in our impoverished state, they are also engaged in negative action. So for them also, by any means necessary. So both camps, by any means necessary, if you like. So thank you. Any other comments? And then let's move then to Sister Portia. Hold on, Sister Portia. In the meantime, welcome, General. Welcome, Kansi. Who is Samsung SMA11F? Please, I need to know your name. And then welcome, Sister Ida. And so I'll just welcome those who join us since I welcome the others. Yes, Sister Portia, please proceed.
Pardon me. I am pardon that we are now almost near an hour on this. It is just
Brother Kwame. Sorry,
the historical.
Yeah,
it's just that the
Portia, can you hold on, please? Yes, sure. brother, welcome.
Yeah, I needed also to know excellence. When a revolution attains its excellence in this context.
Yes, so we'll come to that. Thank you for thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me about excellence. So we'll come to that as we go through our thinking. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Sister Portia, please proceed.
Pardon me for that. We are now an hour to the audience. Yet I think when Prof does historical accuracy, I think this is important, but I do still contend we have to reduce our talking on this for others. There is a article I will put in the chat about Beyond Vietnam. And if you read Dr. King's speech on Vietnam, for example, he urged a radical revolution of values. And then he was saying, quote, "We are on the side of the wealthy and the secure while we create a hell for the poor." And that speech got so much negative. The Washington Post, people like to hail the Washington Post and the New York Times, but he very much, when he was really about radicalism, his image was not well received. Now everyone says Dr. Martin Luther King. And then another, he claimed that America, United States of America, quote, made quote, peaceful revolution impossible by refusing to give up the privileges and the pleasures that come from the immense profits of overseas investments, end quote. So please take a look at Beyond Vietnam, and I still stand on what I said. It's that Dr. King was a radical as he went through his metamorphosis. He is not alone, just like El Haj Malik El Shabazz, just like Dr. Carter G. Woodson, just like President Kwame Nkrumah. You know this system, it does a lot of lies and tricks. And so like any human, you have to go through that process of transforming to not be a part of it. And these men that I mentioned, and there are women as well, went through this, and those who are real revolutionaries never supported a racial capitalist system or systems. Thank you.
Yeah, Sister Portia, thanks for giving us historical context. So you have the situation where you are saying we are spending too long on explanations, but as you can see, the context you've given us is important, and we need to know this. This class belongs to us. I don't think we should hurry ourselves. If there's a need for contextual explanation, let's feel free to do that. I agree that we can limit some of the explanations, but these contexts are very important, you see, because we all know that that is the image of Martin Luther King that we've been given, that when you hear of his name, non-violence. But actually, that's not complete. That's not a complete story. So these contexts are important. So I hear us when we say, let's cut down on explanations. But then what if context is so important that it helps us? Brother Pigeon has done some work on the terminologies in consensism, building on the work that Michael did. And then paragraph by paragraph exposition. We are talking about hundreds of pages, you see. So it's just is the nature of what we are doing, because we are engaged in conceptual and philosophical and ideological discussion. The reading is there to guide us. But if we need to go into context, please, let's feel free to do that. And anybody here can raise questions. You know, we are not limited. We are not saying nobody can ask questions. Please feel free to ask questions. General, you have your hand up. Please come in. Thank you.
Give thanks, my elder. Blessed family. No, I just wanted to comment on that thing of the Reverend Martin Luther King, where it says he was non-violent. He was a radical. Yeah, he was a radical in thought, but he was still non-violent, because there's an ongoing debate about this issue. He was non-violent because he was a preacher. He was a Christian. He didn't believe in physical violence to achieve the goal of Pan-Africanism. It took Kwame Ture and the other radicals who are really radical to try and convince him to change that mind. Not that he was genuinely a radical person, though he was fighting for the human rights of blacks. Thank you.
But General, just saying on that question, when you say that they had to take people like Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael to change his mind, did they change his mind? Did they succeed in changing his mind?
Yes, and that's why I agree with Mama Africa. He did succeed in changing his mind, but it was too late.
Oh, okay. Thank you for Sister Amma. Are you able to speak now? If you are,
yes.
please come in.
Hi. I mean, this is a very interesting and also important discussion we are having about violent struggle versus or armed struggle, and I agree with you. We should use it armed struggle versus non-armed struggle. I think if we look at the struggles of our peoples worldwide over time, over history, we always start with, because of our respect for humanity, we more often than not start with trying to end our oppression and win justice through non-violent means. So if you look from South Africa, Guinea, Algeria, Ghana, Kenya, but what happens, and what's so rightly been identified, is that the forces that are oppression and exploiting us use violent means, which is what drives us into adopting armed struggle. That's one. I think it's very important, and Sister Portia said it so eloquently, that every one of us and every one of our outstanding ancestors is on a journey of development and understanding, etc., etc. So Martin Luther King was, and we all have to accept that, his guiding principle was the liberation of his people. And we have to embrace that. He was a radical. He sacrificed a lot. And again, what I'd like all of us to look at in relation to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Patrice Lumumba, Maurice Bishop, Kwame Nkrumah being overthrown, the point at which let's say, the forces that are against the liberation and unification of African people either assassinated or overthrew those people was the point at which they became very consciously aware of a number of things. One, the importance of Pan-African unity, and two, that the necessity of armed struggle. And that's what happened with Martin Luther King. When he came to the realization, and I'm so glad that Sister Portia, you shared that speech, when he came to the realization that this system wasn't going to bow to moral arguments or reasoning and was not going to bow to, let's say, the strategy of non-violence, he recognized it. And he recognized it because, as has been said, and it's not just the individuals, it's the struggles of people. So he became extremely outspoken on what was happening and what the United States was doing in Vietnam. And that's the point at which he was assassinated. So I do hope everyone takes the opportunity to listen to his speech. And I do want to remind us all that none of us, including our ancestral leaders, are static entities in terms of our understanding and our development. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Amma, for that contribution. So let's proceed. I think what Sister Amma has shared has also reminded me to share, and also what Sister Portia has also shared, reminded me also to share this by Nelson Mandela. Please put it in the chat. Have a look at it when you can. The title is I am prepared to die. And Mr. Mandela goes through what Sister Amma has just explained, how they came to the conclusion to use armed struggle. So please have a look at it when in your own time. It's in the chat. Thank you. Now let's proceed with the exposition of the highlighted section. Please be reminded that the first highlighted paragraph was from last week, and the second highlighted paragraph is a paragraph for this week. So it's this week's paragraph that we're asking you to share your thinking on. Of course, feel free to relate to the previous one if you want to. Thank you. Sister Portia, please proceed.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Queen Sister Amma. Thank all of you. And Professor Kwame, thank you and King Brother Pigeon for this group. Thank you. And Sister Ida, thank you.
We thank the ancestors. Thank you.
We thank the ancestors. The paragraph, it's 3 sentences. I'll go what the paragraph says, and then I'll go to my thinking. And this is not the paragraph that starts at but the one that says the nature and cause. So I'll read those. So the first sentence says that conflict has a cause and effect that can be due to, for example, technological changes, economic relationships, and ideologies. I'll come back to the ideology on my thinking. And then the second sentence basically says a social revolution, it is, it's because of a class struggle. And that class struggle is in a society, and it usually comes about where there's, for the people who are low or no income, it doesn't say that in that second sentence, but it comes about where it's a different change is being sought. And then the last sentence says a foundation is synonymous for that different change. Now it does mention here the low income or no income, and basically it's given an example. And I'm using the terms low or no income, whereas here in the paragraph, it talks about workers and a controversy other word. So basically, an example of when you have that foundation is synonymous for a different change. And for example, if it is realized that revolution can succeed, and this is with low or no income overthrowing middle income or high income, for example. Now to my thinking back to ideology, and I'll wrap up, is I had watched some years ago The Crown, and at first I didn't want to watch it because obviously I thought it's going to be BS. Anyway, I watched it season 1 through 4, and now where I'm at, I'm able to watch season 5 through 6. And it has confirmed what I was saying 2 weeks ago, or what we were saying 2 weeks ago, to refer to what the elders advising that we speak in we. So in this group, I think we're very much about that. One of the things that this oppressive system does is it gets us with its ideology. It gets our mind with ideology. And one of those ideology is the oppressors who are in England, allegedly, who are also known as the royal family. And if one sits through, and you can also see it in the series allegedly with Bridgerton, if one sits,
come closer to the mic, Sister Portia.
pardon me,
Yes,
you
that's
can,
better.
yes, pardon me, sir. You can also see it through the series Bridgerton. So The Crown and Bridgerton, they're very, in my opinion, my thinking is it's very entertaining. But what the ideology is that England is the best, or England was the best. And England does not harm, England loves. When we know, of course, in this group, this is not the case. So my thinking on this is that focus on getting back our own ideology that is unique and the beginning, which is indigenous African ways of life. Because if we use the ideology currently that sells England never did harm, or no one is perfect, or the United States is the police person of the world, if we continue with that type of ideology, it will be, as King Brother said, too late for us. We must return to our indigenous ways, that ideology. Thank you.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? Then I'll move to someone else. So how can we return to our indigenous ways? Those are historical.
I think Burkina Faso is not that it's not that it's the only way, but it, for example, I just read, and I'll put it in the chat, they have banned a technology that is funded by one of the usual suspects, oppressors, allegedly, the Gates Foundation. And it's trying to eradicate mosquitoes in Burkina Faso, but the government banned it because how they're trying to eradicate malaria is through a bioengineered way. And if y'all don't know, quiet is kept, because I go to food pantries, they have here a lot of the staple foods, bread, yogurt, even cornmeal that has bioengineered food ingredients. So one way is to control our food, which goes back to controlling our land. And a case example is the Alliance of the Sahel States. Again, it's not the only way. They are doing something.
Okay, so by indigenous, you mean go back to, for example, controlling our own seeds and our own farming. Is that what you mean? Take that.
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Thank you for that clarification. Let's now go to General, please.
Give thanks, sir. Basically, what I'll comment on the last paragraph, and also to say give thanks to Mama Africa who just spoke now. Give thanks, yeah. So my thinking will focus now on this part. They says that the nature and cause of the conflict between the ruling class and the exploited class is influenced by the development of productive force, is changes in technology and the economic relations which these forces condition and ideologies that reflect the properties and the psychology of the people living in that society. Yeah. So it got me thinking that it's true in a sense the conflict will always be there, but my struggle is this thing of positive action that I continue to maintain that positive action depends on which side or which perspective are you looking at it from. Are you looking at it from the perspective of the working class, or are you looking at the perspective of the ruling class, or are you looking at the perspective of the third person, the outside viewer of the African society? That's the first question I have, because if you want to say it is positive action for the working class to overthrow the ruling class and cause a anarchy, which is instability in the society, it becomes collateral for both sides. And I can just make one example before I close of the story of the ancient black people, where the working class that was mining the gold in South Africa 200,000 years ago started to revolt to the working class who was in charge of the cities of Africa and beyond. So in their revolt, the ruling class, the scientists of the ruling class developed the creation of the humans. But anyway, my point is that are we then repeating the same thing that the same thing that our ancestors had encountered? Because if you can look at this way, from the perspective of the ancient story of the ancestors, you can see that had the working class not have revolted, which was the first revolt on earth, recorded revolt on earth, there wouldn't be a creation of the humans, meaning we'd be only having the black society. But now look, because of the revolt of the working class of the blacks, we created the humans, which are now a problem to us as the Africans now. So how can it be a positive action for a working class to revolt against the ruling class if the consequences are going to be collateral for both of us? So that is where I'm. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for your thinking. We'll come back to you, General, because you've raised some very interesting questions. Let's hear Brother Gonza. Welcome. Oh, he's in the waiting room. Those of you who are co-hosts, please keep an eye on the waiting room. Yeah. Yes, let's go to Sister Ida, please. Thank you. Oh, Sister Ida was traveling, wasn't she? So I'll come back to her later. Sister Amma, your thoughts, your thinking on the paragraph.
Hello, pass me by for a moment. I need to reread it. Thank you.
That's fine. Samsung SMA155F, please. You are? Let me change your name now so we know who you are. Thank you. Please unmute yourself and tell me who you are so I can change your name. Samsung? Samsung SM-A155. Okay, I'll come back to you. If you don't know who you are, we'll have to remove you from the class. Yeah. If you're not, you're going to identify yourself. Let's go to Sister Tapua. Oh, Sister Tapua also said she couldn't speak. So, okay, so let's go to Brother Coco. Yeah, Brother Coco, yes, please proceed.
Thank you.
Yeah, please proceed. Samsung, you are, please identify yourself. Thank you. You can put something in the chat for us. Yeah, please proceed, Brother Coco.
Okay. I'm going to present a very short version of my understanding of this paragraph and then try to explain it. I don't know how long it will take, but after that, I'll travel home. Thank you for the opportunity. So the sequence that we are seeing here, or we are being presented with here, is that technology shapes the economy. And then the economy in turn shapes the classes. And then from the classes, a conflict is generated. But then when the conflict spreads, it raises consciousness. And once there is that consciousness among the people, then it builds mass consent. And from that mass consent, then we go to a revolution. So this is a natural sequence of events if nothing disturbs that. So I'm presenting that because we read about reform versus revolution some paragraphs some few weeks back. Because then if they reform things, then they are in a way postponing that revolution. They are changing things so that there is no mass consent, there is no consciousness of the people. Or should I say in a very short sentence, again, revolution will not only come from our misery because of how we are unhappy with things, but it will also come from the changes we see in the production process. If we are angry with what we are seeing, then or things become intolerable, then as the workers, as the peasants, we rise. And I think this is to quote what Al-Hajj Malik once said. He said, if when you are angry, then you take action. When you are angry, you take action. When you are sad, you don't take an action. You let things slide by. But when you are really angry, then you take action. I think what Dr. Nkrumah is trying to teach us here is that we need to be more organized. We need to be more organized for that mass action. And things are not going to change just because we are unhappy with how they are. We need to organize. All right. So this is the short form. And if you need further clarification, I'm happy to provide that before I go.
Coco, you are sharing your thinking, so feel free to share whatever you think you share. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, allow me to just expound a bit.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So in this case, let's not forget what the productive forces are. The productive forces, we are talking about the tools, the machines, technology, skills, methods of organizing labor, and stuff like that. So this is how the society produces its food or goods or wealth. And then when we talk about the economic relations, being conditioned by those productive forces. Here we are saying who owns what tools and who works with those tools. Because it means if someone else owns the tools that you work with, then they are able to manipulate you. They are able to dictate terms, dictate what you can do, what you cannot do with those machines that they own. So in that sense, technology shapes ownership patterns. And then in turn, that ownership patterns, it creates those classes. So this is where once we have people who have the land and the others who work the land, then we have those classes. Then when we talk about ideology, here we are talking about the mind. We are talking about the mind. So he is not just talking about what we see on the land in terms of resources, but he's also talking about the mind, the mindset. And I think Sister Portia referred to that when she talked about what the videos or the films that they are streaming are showing. They are trying to change the narrative. So that narrative, it suits those with money, those with power, and those with the productive capacity at the time. So ideology, on one hand, it sort of stabilizes exploitation. It makes those who are exploited think that exploitation is normal. Or if it works for us who are resisting, then it fuels our resistance. But in this case, the ideology which we see in the capitalist West is saying anyone can succeed if they work hard enough. This is the usual one. Or God made classes. God created classes. Because there's that hierarchy, let's not forget. Even in heaven itself, there's God at the top with his son, and then there are angels according to the Christianity. So it's a matter of how do we take that, work it out, and understand what Dr. Nkrumah is saying. He's trying to say to us, the class conflict, it depends on how production is organized. If it was just a fair distribution of that production, you wouldn't see classes. But where classes are there, then it's different. With regards to the ideology, is what people believe about justice and power. And then the second one of the economic is who owns those means of production. Allow me to stop there and listen to my fellow comrades. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thinking, Brother Coco. So we don't have any more sisters who can speak now. So let me go to another brother. Brother Pigeon, please proceed with your thinking.
Hello, Brother Kwame, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Now, this text is very interesting. Because here we are, can you say we are experiencing what you call dialectics?
Yes, you can think whatever you like, brother. It's a free class.
Because the class struggle is then dialectics. Every class is struggling for what they want. There's a dominant class that struggles to dominate. There's a dominated class that is struggling to free themselves. So there's a bit of the struggles here that go in the society. And what comes to my mind is this dialectics is actually about material, because the intention of the dominant class to dominate the other class is for actually material purpose. Whether you call it the capitalist model, is purely to dominate other class for purpose of their other material gain. The reason why also they call them peasants. The reason why the peasants, in this case, some people can call them the low class, or the farmers or the workers, are also struggling is to improve on their material well-being. So the struggle then here is centered on the material welfare of the people. But then the question I ask myself in that context is, then does it mean that this struggle will ever end? Will it be possible, or can it be possible not to have class struggle in a society? And probably it can be possible if we then adopt the socialist revolution. And then there's an element here that the revolution that is favorable or that is preferred to be excellent is the proletarian revolution, which is the socialist revolution. Why? Because the socialist revolution in this context tried to make everybody to be equal. That we the low class do not struggle to dominate those on the upper class. We are struggling to ensure that all of us actually have equal access to what we want for this country. But the interest and the fear of the ruling class or the dominant class is that they don't want that equal society because they benefit from that unequal society. Now, of course, we know many people have talked about this proletarian revolution. Go to the Engels, go to Marx, the Lenin, even the Zedong, and even look at the what Ujamaa Nyerere was trying to bring in Tanzania. You can even talk about Amilcar Cabral's work a lot. And then there's also a very interesting element here now. Positive action. And we've been talking about either the violent or whatever, but it appears that then there's a necessity of violent overthrow, that the dominating class might not accept peacefully to have an equal society, which means then there's possibility of violent struggle to overthrow, and there must be possibility probably of violent struggle to overthrow this system that do not favor the majority, or to uproot this so-called exploitative system. We must be very conscious that the exploitative system only work in capitalist system, and therefore socialist system is actually bringing order to capitalist system. And basically you can see then the dialectics between socialism and capitalism in a society. Now, few things I'm interested is the nature and the cause of the class conflict, because it's very important. The class conflict is not accidental or moral, but actually material determinants have been saying. That includes even the technology, labor organization, all those other things we would like to talk about, as some have been mentioned here. I'm very interested. Nkrumah talking about technology at that time. And you know, today, the people who own big tech companies, how they control our data, how they use that to dominate us and control us. Today, that is one of the biggest things to suppress, control, and coordinate anything you want. So that's also very interesting to me. And I'm very happy that Nkrumah even saw that technology as a problem that was to come in. Because today you see the AI gig companies, look at the Uber companies, look at all those other companies. They eat a lot while our so-called Uber drivers go home with nothing. Some of our young men who are in Nigeria who work for those AI companies get peanuts, but those companies get a lot of money out of it. When now we are talking about issues of green eco, green tech, eco whatever, eco environment, it's just basically the still dominant class benefiting and reaping everything out of us, the ordinary class. But as I end this a bit, is the basis of socialist revolution. That's I'm also seeing here. That the basis of socialist revolution is created when the struggle within a given society has resulted in mass consent. Very important element is the mass consent and mass desire. So the masses are the center of this revolution. Revolution is not imposed, but it must emerge from organic class struggle of the masses. Then it culminates into a widespread agreement. And I think what I also try to link a bit with chapter 5 is positive action from individual level to society level that then moves up and audited. So it means we must reject this elitism. We must actually throw them so that the rulership or the ruling or the control and the organization of the society must be the consent of the many. I don't want to take my time because time is not on our side. Permit me to end there. Brother Kwame, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your thinking. So we so far can already hear the contradictions in our own submissions. Yeah, some of us are saying it's not good for workers to rebel. They should accept their position as being the growers of the fruit and not the eaters. And even if they eat, they must accept that those who don't grow should be those who do the eating. And some of us are saying the direct opposite. So even in this class, you can already hear and sense and appreciate the tensions. So let's go to, if you can now speak, sisters, please let me know in the chat. If you can't speak, that's okay. But if you can speak, do let me know. Let's go to brother. Samsung is brother Sam. Is he back? Okay. Brother Pigeon, get in touch with brother Sam, please, and get him in. I moved him into the waiting room because I wasn't sure who he was. And if he couldn't speak from where he was, then he couldn't respond, but he could still have put something in the chat. And Brother Pigeon, get in touch with Brother Sam and please enable his attendance. Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from brother Welcome. And I suppose we can answer Brother Welcome's question at the same time. Yeah, Brother Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kwame.
Yeah.
Brother Pigeon was talking about the socialist revolution.
Yeah. So, Brother Welcome, let me add to your question, then you can build on that. So, building on what Brother Pigeon said and what was said earlier. So, the excellence is explained in the paragraph itself, the last sentence. Sister Portia always says a sentence. So, yeah, the last sentence. Yeah. So, when revolution attains its excellence and workers and peasants succeed. So the excellence is that they overthrow the workers and peasants, succeed in overthrowing all other classes. Yeah, all other classes. And it's interesting, Nkrumah says classes rather than class. So it's not just one monolith or monolithical capital class, but within the capital class, there are also classes. And as Sister Ida reminded us some time ago, even within the working class, there are also exploiters. So, for instance, those who are the preachers and who preach the message of salvation, but who live like kings and queens, whilst the church members live in poverty, who send their children to the best schools, whilst their church members are struggling to pay school fees, etc. So even amongst the non-elitist, or if you like, the non-capitalist class, those who are not part of the capitalist class, even amongst themselves, we find that there are exploiters also there. So there's a sense in which you can talk about other classes, as in there isn't just one. Even within the capitalist class, we have different capitalists. So we have commercial capitalists, we have industrial capitalists, we have, if you like, estate capitalists, those who just build houses to rent, and then we have retail capitalists. Even the banking sector, we have retail banks as retail capitalists, etc., etc. So there's a sense in which there are classes. So the answer to the question, what is the excellence? The excellence is the abolition of the principle of exploitation. I think that is the heart of the question. That in the post-capitalist society, that there is the principle of exploitation is abolished. So nobody sits on the neck of somebody else. So they do all the work, and all they do is just spend, and spend. Does that help, brother? Welcome. So that's the excellence. Yeah, that's the excellence.
It helped a lot.
Thank you.
It helped a lot. Thank you. As for my thinking, please pass.
Sorry?
Thank you. As for my thinking, please pass. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That means you share the thinking. Previously, that's okay. That's excellent. Thank you very much. Let's go to brother Gonza. Kwame Gonza, welcome. You haven't been with us for a while. It's good to have you with us, brother Kwame. Please share your thinking.
Thank you very much, Chair. So what I understand from this is...
it's good to hear your voice, brother Kwame.
Thank you very much. So I see that the author is pointing out that society, when I read the paragraphs, actually, it got me thinking. It's talking about societies which have had the spirit of communism still exists, in societies, because some societies have lived communally. And of course, we know that he was making an argument for Africa and how we organized our society. But it also got me thinking when it comes to European societies. Last week, I was listening to a political scientist called Eric Lee, who is a very, very good analyst. And he was saying that even European societies originally, actually, they were communal. When you look at the Protestants who left Europe and went to form the United States, they lived in a communal way. The Puritans, the so-called Puritans, those guys, how they lived, it was sort of communal. But it is after the period of 1945 that neoliberalism and this extreme glorification of an individualism as the center of everything was, intensified by the neoliberals. And of course, that's the group of the Reagan and all those guys. So then it got me also thinking that are we living in that era which people have been calling a matrix? Are we living in a matrix? Are we living in a society which has been shaped and forced onto us, that we should accept this way of living and not question it, whereby we have been blocked from exploring other means of organizing society? And of course, we see this even after 1966 when Nkrumah was overthrown, because these guys were proposing other ways of organizing society, you know, which is contradictory or which is opposite of what the West was trying to impose on the world during that period, and especially this period intensified after the fall of the Berlin Wall, after the defeat of the Soviet Union and all that. Then this neoliberalism consolidated its position and then started shaping the world to go in the direction in which they wanted, and imposing and all these things. So I'm just saying all these things for us to, you know, to get something to think about, you know, and then also the society that we want to shape. And when we look at what is going on across the world, can we say we are approaching, because some analysts, of course, political analysts have said that we are approaching the end of the neoliberal era. Can we say that it is the right time for us as Africans, you know, to intensify or to further emphasize and bring back this thinking of the Nkrumahs and the Walter Rodneys, whereby we need to find another way of, you know, organizing society, not necessarily finding another way, but bringing back their thinking that we should, you know, then emphasize this way of organizing society, of course, which Nkrumah calls socialism, communalism, and all this. And also in this, also it got me thinking, you know, when Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the former president of Kenya, was commenting on the 2008 financial crisis, where he said that our forefathers proposed a way of, I think this is the way he brought it. It may not be exactly the same words he used, but he was saying that our forefathers were proposing a different way of organizing society, and they were ridiculed during that period. But we see that the current way of organizing society does not suit us. And actually, they were right in their proposals. And of course, he was talking about the Nyerere and the Nkrumahs, what they were proposing as the solution for Africa. But in all this, of course, we are somehow trapped. We can say that we are somehow trapped because I'm saying this because when this guy, the political scientist I'm talking about, called Eric Lee, was interviewing the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, before he came to win the presidency this time, for this time he's running, he asked him that why is it that Brazil was not able to form its own independent institutions, which are not sort of like copycats, even form a new constitution, which is not a copycat of the US, because most of the countries which adopted neoliberalism during that period after 1945 and then 60s and then later on the 80s, they sort of photocopied the US Constitution and imposed it on their societies, even though those constitutions were not suited for those conditions. So he asked him why Brazil was not able to do that and form its own institutions, which were not copies of the US or, you know, in some cases, Europe. So Lula da Silva told him that it's because they did not have a revolution in Brazil, and China succeeded in having a revolution. So it was able to charter a new direction and build its own institutions, which are suited to its identity. Hence, it was able to struggle through. And even when the neoliberalists came in, like in period of 2001, and they allowed China into the World Trade Center, in the World Trade Organization, China still was able to move on its own terms. It was able to engage the world on its own terms. And so we see that direction is continuing even today. So the question is, are we now living beyond, or are we approaching, or are we coming to the end of the neoliberal order whereby China and then Russia are taking a different direction and redefining what the new world should look like? And are we seeing the US retreating with this that we're talking about with the end of neoliberal order? Are these signs, the retreat of the United States, are these signs that that order is coming to an end, and should Africa be going in a different direction? So this is just my reflection on the first paragraph. I hope time is not, diminished. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your thinking, brother Gonza. Let's hear from Kansi Akiki Aikumu. Unmute yourself, please, and share your thinking. Okay, Kansi doesn't appear to be ready. So let me go back to Sister Amma. Can you, Sister Amma has shared her thinking, hasn't she, already? Sister Amma, have you shared your thinking? Right. Sister Ida, are you able to share now? Have you got home safely and able to share now?
I've only just got home, but I think I'm not going to be sharing today. Thank you. Sorry, because I've only just arrived.
That's all right. That's okay. Thank you that even whilst traveling, you are with us. That's highly appreciated. Sister Amma, can you talk now? So I'm just getting the sisters to speak. Yes. Okay. Sister Tapua, can you speak now, or you still can't speak? Okay. Right. Okay. So we've heard from everyone. The time is 7:45. So we've got 15 minutes left. We've heard from everyone. So yeah. So if there are no more questions and no more contributions, we shall finish early today.
Brother Kwame.
Yes.
I'm happy to chair so that you can share your thinking.
My thinking, right? Okay. You mean I haven't spoken enough?
No, you are sharing other people's thinking, not your thinking.
No, thank you. So
and I'm happy to see Brother Gonza, Brother Kwame. I'm very happy to see
I'm
Brother
very
Gonza.
happy to. I like you. Similarly, I'm so happy to see Brother Gonza. We missed him so much. So my thinking is that is it right for workers?
Is it scientific socialism, Brother Kwame?
Yes. Thank you. Is it right for workers and peasants, those people who don't own any capital at all and who work on farms and etc., is it right for them to produce all the wealth and not overthrow a king who oppresses and suppresses them? So is it right if if a ruler says that I have a right to rule you by divine right, I am appointed by God, or I'm appointed, or I'm self-appointed, I possess qualities that are cosmological or cosmic, I am a superior race, I'm a superior person, however we want to to describe or characterize supremacy. Is it right for the supreme person to oppress and suppress others because they are not like him or her? Is it that workers, because they are workers, therefore they don't have rights, they are not human, or they are not non-human? However I want to describe workers. Is it that because they are workers, suddenly they, even if they are non-humans or humans, they cease to have rights? Do we disrespect workers because they are not like us?
But Kwame,
yes.
Now I know you are raising a moral question.
I'm raising a philosophical question, yes.
But I think underpinning it's a moral also question.
Yes.
And I'm sorry for cutting this short. Yeah, I want to build this further as you are saying it. Then at what time does one feel very comfortable with the condition you're saying when you're asking, is it right? There are people who feel it is right.
Yes.
There are people who will feel it is not right. And what makes these people think differently in the same question? What makes some people feel that it is right, and what makes other people think that it is not right? But other question I wanted to add to, as you will respond to this, is what will it take? I know the text talk about when we achieve excellence, but what will it take for the peasants and workers to make that successful, that excellence?
Yes. Thank you for your interjection. So if a ruler is a ruler by divine right means they've been appointed by God. You know, they've been appointed by the Almighty God, the creator of the heaven and earth, however you want to describe God, yeah? And God knows best. And if God has appointed someone to rule you, how dare you, a worker, to rebel? I mean, that is the argument of divine right of kings. And I think we saw in chapter 1 that it took philosophers like Locke to challenge that philosophy and say that surely that can't be right. How can you oppress us in the name of Almighty God? How can you say that even though you've been appointed by God, so you make us workers in the mine and we have no rights? You take from us what we produce. We don't benefit. We live in conditions. You even make us excrete because you think we've stolen some of the diamonds that we have mined, or the gold or whatever. You think that we have swallowed them. So you keep us in unhygienic conditions and you wait for us to excrete so you can look into our excreta in order to see if there are diamonds in there. I mean, is that right? So if we rebel against you, who say you have a divine right to rule us because you are superior to us, is it right? Do we have a right to revolt against our own oppression, or should we just shut up and accept that we are inferior and therefore must endure life as animals or less than animals? And so I put this out because even here there are tensions amongst us as to whether it's right for workers to revolt. Shouldn't workers just accept that they are workers and accept the ruling classes and just shut up? So in the current world of neocolonialism, we just accept that global racist capitalism is supreme, no armed struggle by anyone, just shut up and endure it? I mean, those are the questions that are coming up. So I'm just raising these questions. So coming back to your question then, Brother Pigeon, although it's not mentioned in this paragraph, and that is that the heart of the revolution, for it to transform things. Let's remember that when we talk about revolution, we don't mean violence. All we are asking is that the principle be changed. And as Sister Amma explained earlier, it is not we who are violent. It is not the workers that are violent. It is a system that responds to violence. Read Nelson Mandela's I'm Prepared to Die. Every time they were non-violent, the state was violent. Yeah. Look at workers just saying that they don't want to carry passes. It's our land. Why should we go around carrying pass? You are foreigners. You are visitors. You came to our land. You've turned us into slaves in our own land, and now you want us to carry something called a pass. No, we won't. And so they went and they put their passes down, and then you start shooting them. You start shooting them because they said they won't accept the pass. They wanted to walk around with the pass. So the Africans must just accept that and not do anything. You know. So I'm raising these questions to say that, did apartheid have the divine right to oppress our people because they had superior weapons, superior technology, etc., etc.? So that takes me to the vanguard. Look at Africa today. We are not organized. Even the left is not organized, is it? Prominent left that I know have become spokespersons for governments. Prominent spokespersons, and I come from Ghana, and I'm talking about Ghana here. Prominent spokespersons of the left that I know personally as a friend, they speak for government. They don't speak for the people. They are not in the trenches organizing with the people. They say, go to the people, live among them. You know, live among them. You know, the saying goes, you know, then you learn with them. You know, you see how they live. You know, you organize with them in where they live, in the slums, in the ghettos, in the mines, wherever they are. You know, are the left doing that? The so-called left. Yeah, they are not doing that. The left are busy in the cities, making speeches and organizing marches. We are not engaged in the most important activity, which is political education. And political education is not, if you take Ghana, for instance, it's not saying Accra and giving speeches. If you take Kenya, it's not living in Nairobi and giving speeches. No, it's for us to live with the people where they are, in their circumstances, understand them, study with them. We study with them, we learn with them, we analyze with them, and as a result, we grow in political consciousness. So political consciousness is the key here, because the basis of a socialist revolution is created when the class struggle within the given society has resulted in mass consent and mass desire for positive action. You know, people, the people feel all kinds of feelings, but those feelings are not organized into political consciousness. So you have the same working class in opposing political parties. They even fight each other, even though they are suffering from the same forces, but they're in political parties fighting. And these political parties are not parties of liberation. They are parties for the oppression and the management of capital. I will pause there. So to answer your question, Brother Pidgin, is political education.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. Thank you, Brother Kwame, and thank you, everyone. I think as we're moving along, we are getting into the heart of consciousness. We were starting from either the toes. As we move up, you're almost getting to the head of consciousness, but you are the heart of consciousness, as we are saying. And key answers are coming in on the revolutions, what need to be done. And I think many people are now starting even to change their perspective on how they thought of consciousness, how they are learning more. I believe many people have learned a lot, like myself. As I've said, Brother Gonza showed me towards the light, and Brother Kwame, you showed me the light. So I'm in the process of enlightenment. And I do really appreciate, and I believe many people have joined us, have also appreciated the mind and the work Nkrumah put in place. It still takes us time to comprehend what Nkrumah was writing. And we are thankful we have people who can help us and guide us in this process. Now, I don't think if there's anyone who hasn't spoken, because I'm having 1 minute actually to bring this meeting to an end. And it's unfortunate, Sister Ida didn't speak today.
Yeah.
Brother Kwame, what do you want to say?
Yeah, just a quick one. So in the context of what I've said, scientific socialism, as Brother Welcome asked me to explain, means basically that the change that you want for people must respect their circumstances. I mean, that's basically what it means. Look at the circumstances of their lives, and whatever change you bring must respect their circumstances. That is why it is scientific and not just a creed. Thank you.
So it is data driven, it's factual, is in the what you call the conditions of the people. So I think that's what I'm saying, Brother Kwame. Socialism will be socialism, but it must be scientific in this context. I hope that will be very helpful, Brother Window. Now, I think we brought our meeting to an end. We will meet next time to continue this. I'll be tying the 2 paragraphs that are following. I've gone through them; they're almost close, so we'll tie those 2 paragraphs as we move still on the nature. But all recordings are available. I think the recordings of last week, they're available on our YouTube. I'll check again. But this week's recording will also be available anytime within the week. I just always request you that please have time even to share if you don't even listen. Sometimes also just when you're free, just listen to what you conversed, what was your contribution. Listen to this interesting conversation again. I think it will be very useful. This Saturday, we are actually looking to have a conversation with the ambassador. I have been trying to reach out to Brother Nkrumah, and I will get in touch with him immediately so that we have the ambassador, but they had proposed the date to be on 14th. So we're looking forward to have the ambassador of Venezuela, I think, to South Africa. As we'll be discussing more on the liberation and I think it's international solidarity, but I can't share the exact topic. But you're having that conversation that you have talked about with the ambassador of Venezuela to South Africa. And you know how that is going on in that context. Then Monday will be still continuing the reading of the reading club. That's how are reviewing the book Defeating Dictators by Dr. J.J. And Thursday we continue from here. And yes, to those who missed the Swahili classes, there's a class that's going on Tuesday with the One Map Africa. I'm trying to guide it, but there's a teacher that will be coming up to help us as well. So those who are still interested, it's a free class that I can always guide on that line. But that's it for now. Brother Kwame, unless you have anything else to say.
No, thank you. I have nothing else to add. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you.